Hello everyone, welcome to the 2026 edition of the 5 Sports Show. I'm joined now by Cam Murray, one of our sports anchors. Now I know the show looks a little different. I'm going to be the new host for this new edition of the show. I mean, it's the same song, different verse, with the show, Cam. So
well, I mean, we got West Virginia football to talk about. A lot of new transfers.
Yeah.
I saw someone recently. We'll start off with this. Ranked eighth among all college football programs, higher than your Ohio State Buckeyes, by the way. They're ranked higher than them in the transfer portal right now. They are ranked
you're doing
number
something
8.
right if you're ranked ahead of Ohio State. But go ahead.
So I mean, yeah, they got a lot of great transfers. We talked about from Wednesday to Thursday, even today. The best one, in my opinion, the running back Cam Cook. Led all of FBS in rushing last season.
Yeah.
And you also bring in this quarterback from Oklahoma, Michael Hawkins, who is potentially going to be competing with Scotty Fox for that starting quarterback job. Of course, Scotty Fox remains in the Mountaineers, but a lot of exciting transfers, wide receivers, defensive players. What has caught your eye over this few days in the portal?
Well, it's like you said with Jaheim White. Cam Cook. I mean, they filled the void of Jaheim White's departure very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Cam Cook was the nation's leading rusher. I don't care what school you do that at. That's impressive in college football. Plus, he played in the Big 12 before, so at TCU. So he knows the conference. He knows the expectations. But to be honest with you, what really catches my eye is the defensive additions. I mean, let's start off with Andrew Powdrill. He's a transfer coming in from UNLV. You look at Tyler Stolsky. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Hopefully I'm getting it right again. This is the first show. We'll have some nicks, but everything will be cool. Florida Atlantic. He had 90 tackles, Cam, and then he comes back to a Power 4 school. Played at Minnesota previously, but a very big addition is David Afogu. He's coming from Bowling Green. He was a great edge, Mid-American Conference. Eddie George was his coach, wasn't able to keep him there. He's coming here to Morgantown. He had, he had a lot of sacks, a lot of tackles. He was a very big playmaker coming from West Ohio. He's going to be a very good addition, I feel like. But it's like you said, Cam Cook coming in, he could be one of the best players in the Big 12 offensively this season. He's just an absolute great playmaker. They do have some questions at the quarterback position, coming in. I mean, it'll be a very good, storyline, going into, fall camp and going into the spring game with the quarterback position. But I think, we look back 2 years from now, I feel like this transfer portal class is going to be when we really saw WVU take off in the second tenure of Rich Rodriguez. I mean,
the things I was talking about all season long of willingness to spend money, willingness to compete with other schools to get good players, like we saw. They stole Cam Cook from Tennessee. They stole offensive lineman from Texas. I mean, they are competing with other schools in the nation, not just the Big 12. Now, obviously, Texas Tech, has pretty much all the money in the world at this point. The oil money, all they have, the NIL. But despite that, West Virginia still ranks 8th currently right now in the portal in terms of the transfers coming in, the outgoing transfers as well. But, over the course of the season, I was questioning whether or not West Virginia had the ammunition to compete with these schools. Right now we're seeing, they're knocking it out of the park right now. I'm very pleased with what we've been seeing. And one thing further, the defense definitely needed an upgrade. We saw a lot of linebackers coming in for Zach Alley's defense next season. Obviously, offensive line coach Rick Trickett making his return back to Morgantown. Offensive line looking sharp already. So I think West Virginia is probably doing exactly, maybe even a little bit more of what fans expected. And I'm happy that they're really trying to go after it with Rich Rodriguez. And
absolutely.
And maybe the biggest donor.
They chose violence, during this transfer portal, Cam. They chose violence. They came in not playing around. And you look at all these other Big 12 schools, they had very, very, very good transfer portal classes. And West Virginia's right up there with them.
Right. And I mean, hey, when you win, when you have a season like this, you have to do something. You have to make a change somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think offensively, we'll see if Scotty Fox can be that guy coming into next season. Of course, he played in a lot of games for the Mountaineers, has a lot of experience, but is this guy Michael Hawkins a guy that could compete for that role? He did play a couple games in the SEC against those competition, so it'll be interesting to see. But right now, I mean,
and I want to see him do well, being a fellow Northeast Ohio when he played at Mentor High School. So I want to see Scotty Fox do well. But it'll be a very interesting storyline going into, like I said, the spring game and fall camp.
Yeah. Well, one thing as well. I mean, I don't know what the ceiling is for West Virginia next year, but they should definitely be able to win those games against the teams that are comparable on their schedule.
Absolutely.
Based on the guys they're bringing in now, there is a lot of hype around this team, maybe more as there was last season. Of course, Rich Rodriguez returning. A lot of fans had that sense of, well, we're back. I think you start bringing in these big names, you start spending a lot of money, that's when the fans are going to think like, oh, wow, we are back. We are going to start going to, like, bowl games at the least. You know what I mean? So we'll be talking about that all throughout the season. But like I said, the most exciting transfer, I think, is Cam Cook. And we'll see where West Virginia goes from here. But a wide receiver from LSU, you take this guy from USC and Boise State, a lot of exciting pieces to add.
I mean, before we shift gears into something else, I think looking back at it, in WVU's era in the transfer portal, this might be the best they've ever done so far. This might be the best they've ever done.
Totally agree. In terms of the transfer portal and also recruiting, I mean, you recruited two 4-stars, the offensive lineman, also Matt Sieg, who earned National Player of the Year for high school football. You have those two guys, also a couple more athletes as well who you got from recruiting. But yeah, pretty good National Signing Day. Pretty good start to the transfer portal. Obviously, the portal will end January 16th, so you have about, what is it? You have 1 more week. You have 1 more week to fill out your team, because after that, the portal ends and you're pretty much stuck with the guys you got. So we'll see. Another week. I'm sure it's going to keep heating up. But yeah, Dante, let's go over to some basketball now. Big time match for West Virginia this weekend, taking on Kansas. What are your first thoughts on this matchup?
I mean, the last 2 years they played Kansas, they've all been interesting games. I mean, last year they went into Allen Fieldhouse and upset the Jayhawks, and the year before you were there when they stormed the court and they upset Kansas.
Right.
And that was one of the better Kansas teams, coached by Bill Self in the last 3 years. So that was a massive upset. But I feel like this is going to be a welcome to the Big 12 moment for Ross Hodge. I mean, right now the Mountaineers rank 15th in the Big 12 in offense, but they're second in total defense. So it'll be interesting to see. But you look at this dude, Hunter Huff, the transfer, the senior from Brooklyn, New York. He's been, one of the biggest storylines for this Mountaineer team this season so far. There are times, where he can be, inconsistent scoring. He'll have a 20-point game and then, he'll have an off night. But, he's definitely the Mountaineers' best offensive threat. I mean, he had a great game against Cincy this week. He had a monster game in their double overtime defeat against Ohio State and Cleveland. Great performance against Wake Forest. But, you look at this Mountaineer team and, wins like this, they can really define, your conference slate. I mean, in their conference opener against Iowa State, they laid an egg. I mean, they got beat during the entire game, but they were able to bounce back, beating Cincinnati in their conference opener at the Coliseum. But, whenever West Virginia and Kansas get together, something great happens. I mean, this is one of the better rivalries, in college basketball. It's one of the more underrated rivalries, in my opinion. And whenever these two teams get together, these two programs, these two brands play each other, it's very exciting. Plus, the game will be on WVFX, our sister station, Saturday at noon. So you could watch it right here.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here with the Ross Hodge thing. You come to the Big 12, that press conference talking about we want to be a team like Houston. We want to be a team like Houston. We want to beat teams like Houston. Of course, against Iowa State, the third-ranked team in the country, tough matchup. Like you said, lost by 30+. I mean, they pretty much dominated every facet of the game. I mean, at the beginning of the game, West Virginia was keeping it close, but once kind of they got to the 8-minute mark in the first half, that's when Iowa State pulled away. I don't see Kansas pulling away in this. I actually see West Virginia continuing to play well, rebounding the basketball, limiting second chance points. When they played Cincinnati, they had an opportunity. That was their game to lose. Cincinnati was coming back. They were putting pressure on the Mountaineers. Mountaineers refused to lose that game. And with that, I feel like they have some confidence going into this matchup against Kansas, despite the fact they're ranked in the top 25. I think this team's playing very confident now. Of course, you take that loss to Ohio State, but at this point right now, I think the Mountaineers are playing with a sense of confidence. They have the guys, like you said, Honor Huff, shooting the basketball very well. I mean, he led all NCAA last year in three-point makes. He's on pace to, I think, get 130 this year, three-point makes. So
he's having a great year. He's very fun to watch. But, they have a very good defense. West Virginia is a very good defensive team. And if you watch Kansas's game against, UCF last week, that's a game that I watched. You can see that this Kansas team, it's not as scary as past Bill Self Kansas teams. They're very beatable. They come into this game ranked 22nd,
yes,
right, in the AP poll.
Yep.
I mean, I think this is definitely a winnable game for West Virginia. Again, like I said, wins like this, they could set the tone for you early in conference play. And these last 3 seasons, really, actually this last decade, whenever West Virginia, and Kansas get together, They're great games. And West Virginia, historically, playing Kansas at the Coliseum, it's in their favor. So it'll be very exciting for sure tomorrow.
Yeah, I can't wait. Zach will be at that game with the highlights, getting it for us on 5 Sports. But one thing about basketball before we shift gears to some some NFL stuff.
Yeah.
One thing just about this team in general, I think they're building a culture and a system and a way of playing basketball that is a foundation of what this team will become in the next 2 or 3 years. Obviously, transfer portal, your team's going to change, turnover, things like that. I do believe that the system that they have this season, holding teams below 75 points per game, that is pretty much the standard of where you want to be.
That's going to get them to March Madness if they continue to do that. You
can't be allowing teams to throw 100 on you every night. You have to be able to defend and also be able to, play your game on offense. 3-point chances. Honor Huff, Eagle staff finding his rhythm now. Obviously, Lorient had a concussion, but he's back in the lineup now. You have your guys that you need to be scoring and providing for you on offense, but also you have your guys on defense. Harlan Obioha, the rebounding. Those guys are going to mean a lot when this game against Kansas, because Kansas, obviously Bill Self, one of the best coaches in college basketball. You're not going to beat him on second chance points. You're not going to really beat him on offensive rebounds. You got to limit those opportunities if you're West Virginia. And of course, you get the 3-ball going, the Mountaineers get the Coliseum going, the crowd's behind you, you're up by 5, you get a lead. That is important. Everyone knows that. You go to the Coliseum to watch a game. When the Mountaineers get up, it almost feels like a 10-point, 15-point lead no matter what the score is. So
absolutely,
that's the biggest thing.
Absolutely. And again, you can watch that game on WVFX tomorrow at noon. And of course, we will have the highlights and post-game reaction from the Coliseum on 5 News at 6, and then later on 5 News at 11. Now we shift gears into the NFL playoffs. Let's just get right to it. Let's just get to your team before we get into the other wild card matchups.
We'll go quick on these.
7th-seeded Chargers are taking on the 2nd-seeded Patriots. The Patriots are back in the playoffs, and not only are they in the playoffs, they're legitimate Super Bowl contenders.
We're going to win the Super Bowl this year.
Just like that?
Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to either get one of two things. I know Trent obviously is a Chargers fan back there listening to this, but I hate to say it, man. I mean, Patriots are going to probably win by 10, 13 points. Drake May is going to win the MVP. I'd take one of the two, Super Bowl win or MVP win. I think we should get both, but I think right now it's going to be a big win for the Patriots. Chargers offensive line, I don't see any reason why the Patriots cannot dominate this game. The Chargers defense is pretty good. I'll give them that. Herbert's a pretty good quarterback, but I think May is going to prove a lot of people why he should be the MVP this season. Let's go through some more. I think the Bills are going to lose to the Jaguars.
You're just going to reach across.
Well, I don't have mine. You printed it out one for yourself. I wish you had two. If you had two, I would have.
Okay. Well, we go next to the Bills and Jaguars Sunday at 1 o'clock, which you can watch right here on CBS and WDTV. I really like the Bills in this game. I think the Bills and the Patriots, playing in the next round. I feel like that's what America wants to see. That's going to be the next game, right?
That would be, but I think the Jags are really underrated. Trevor Lawrence is playing really good. Liam Cohen.
ETN.
Yeah,
ETN's
ETN.
one of the most underrated running backs in the league. But I'm going to roll with the Bills. I like Josh. I trust Josh Allen.
He can't do everything. But anyway, go on to the Steelers and the Texans.
That AFC East bias, folks. We go to the Steelers and Texans. Many of you in the viewing area will be locked into this Monday night. This is a big game for C.J. Stroud.
Your boy.
Yeah, absolutely, my boy. I'm a big fan of him. This is also a very big game for Mike Tomlin because many Steeler fans they want to see It's unfortunate we live in a what have you done for me lately society lately. We don't recognize the greatness of Mike Tomlin, him being a Hall of Fame coach. But it's going to be a big game from him nonetheless. And then you look at the Packers and the Bears, one of the greatest rivalries in the NFL, renewed in the postseason. The Bears are a lot like the Patriots. They have a quarterback, in his second year. They defied expectations this season, and they had a very good regular season. The Packers are coming in very, very hurt, I'm sure Patrick's not going to like to hear that, but that'll be an interesting game. 49ers taking on the Eagles Sunday. I think, in my opinion, this is the best game. In my opinion, this is going to be the best game of Wild Card Weekend.
Niners are going to win that. Eagles have too much drama going on.
Well, these are two similar teams because they're both limping into the playoffs.
Yeah, but the Eagles, they don't. I don't. Nick Sirianni, I don't think he's done anything as a head coach to prove himself as a good head coach. He's gotten bailed out by offensive coordinators.
Getting to 2 Super Bowls and winning.
Yeah, but he's gotten bailed out by his offensive coordinators. Once they don't have those coordinators, he's a shell of himself. Without having the guy that went to the Saints, what's his name? The quarterback for Boise State, the former
Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore. And then you have this guy Nick Patullo, who doesn't know, he's a terrible offensive coordinator. 49ers, hottest team in football right now. They're going to win that game. Also, don't sleep on the Carolina Panthers.
That's going to be a 5-4 game. You know, the Panthers, Bryce Young, I think that's one of the best stories in the NFL this season, what Bryce Young and the Panthers have been able to do. But I think it's going to be all Rams in that game because, we talked about Drake May being an MVP candidate, but I believe Matt Stafford is right up there with him, and I think he's going to prove himself in that game. Give me the Rams in that game. And that'll set up a rematch with the Seahawks in the divisional, hopefully. So,
right, we'll get to
as
that.
Football fans, we want to see that.
Yeah.
We want to see stuff
Super
like
Bowl 60 this year, really?
It's Super Bowl 60.
Gosh, I didn't even know that. All right, well, we'll keep you guys updated on these playoff matchups, obviously, when they finalize, when the Patriots take care of business, hopefully on Sunday. But
We will see.
For now, all for us here for the 5 Sports Show, first one of 2026. We'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.